All right. So hopefully you can all see me in the corner with a picture. And so there are going to be times when I'm doing like physical things where you can follow me with my hands. And so hopefully you can see me okay and you can kind of follow along. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jenny Simon. I'm a mental health therapist. I have been specifically a trauma therapist for the last 20 years. It's amazing to think about. But I've been doing trauma work for the last 20 years. I am currently employed at the University of Arizona in Thrive, and I see students in Thrive for mental health. And so that is how I'm sitting before you, and I am doing this presentation on exhausted, unfocused, and confused. How is your mental health? So I'm happy to see all of you, and I can't wait to start. And so let's just get into this. And if you have questions, send them to think about the stressor that's causing your distress. And I want you to run it through your mind like a movie. But when you run it through your mind like a movie, I want you to add color to it. So I want you to turn the movie pink, or turn the movie blue, or turn the movie gray, or turn it black and white. So let's just take a few seconds, and whatever it is that we're super stressed out about that's just got us going and put us at an 8 or a 10, just run that movie through your mind with a different color. All right, great. So those of you who did it, great. Those of you who didn't, you can do it later. But basically, just doing that little baby step, that creates some space and some distance so that it's not swamping you, it's not overwhelming you, that you have some room to kind of see that story from a little bit of a distance. The color kind of mutes it a little bit. I also want to say we don't want to bypass our difficult emotions, but there is absolutely no health benefit in flooding and becoming overwhelmed. And when we have too many thoughts and too many feelings, and when we get overwhelmed, that is called flooding. And at the third part of this talk, we're going to talk a lot about what we can do to avoid that flooding. All right, so now we're going to do a group activity. I want you to take the activity that you were really worried about. Maybe it was the activity that you ran color through. It's the thing that you gave yourself an 8 or a 10 as a rating. And I want you to think about something that's causing great distress in your life right now. And I want you to just kind of picture that thing. And then I want you to come up with something that is pleasurable. Something that engages your whole body, something that makes you super happy. I don't know if it's making pasta in the kitchen, or if it's holding a baby, or walking outside in nature with your dog. But I want you to pick something that's high pleasure, and I want you to really feel it in your body. So on one part of your brain, you're sort of holding this extreme stress and distress. And on the other part of your brain, you're holding a highly pleasurable activity. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix them. That's what we're doing. So I want you to take your arms, and I want you to start at your shoulders. Hopefully you can see me in the chat. In the picture. And I want you to rub your shoulders down to your elbows. So it's like you're petting yourself. You're going to pet yourself. Okay, and we're going to keep petting until I tell you to stop. This is really nice when you have a softie on, like when you have something soft that you're wearing. Basically, you're going to rub from your shoulder down to your elbow, and you're just going to keep doing that. Let me make sure there's no questions about this weird activity. Okay. All right. So I want you to kind of pet yourself, and don't stop. We're going to keep petting. There's a real reason for this. There's some science to back this. It's actually soothing your vagal nerve, and it's also bringing you into a delta wave state. Delta waves are the waves that we are in when we are sleeping. So we're going to kind of soothe ourselves a little bit, like we're petting ourselves a little bit. All right, so go ahead and have that kind of stressful event. Give that a rating. How stressful is it? You guys all said about an 8. And then now I want you to think about a pleasureful activity, and I want you to close your eyes and be in that space of high pleasure. And let's say for the first one, let's all go to the beach. Let's just go to the beach. So come to the beach with me, close your eyes, keep petting, and we're gonna go to the beach. And so I want you to feel your feet in the sand. I want you to smell the air. I want you to hear the waves crashing and the seagulls calling. I want you to be right there in that beach. And I'm gonna count. And you're just going to hear my voice from 0 to 20, and we're just going to count while you're petting yourself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now I want you to open your eyes and turn your eyes to the left. Look to the left. Now change your eyes and look to the right. And then look to the left. And then look to the right. And then look to the left. And then look to the right. And then look to the left. And then look to the right. Good job. All right, let's close our eyes again and keep petting. You did a good job. Let's keep petting. And now let's go to a garden. Let's go to a beautiful garden. A garden full of trees and the cold breeze, and there's some animals in the trees. And you just be in that beautiful garden. Maybe there's a beautiful place for you to sit and just allow the sun to come shining on you. And again, let's keep petting ourselves. I'm going to keep counting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good job. You can open your eyes. And again, keeping your head straight, look to the left. And then look to the right. And then look to the left. And then look to the right. And look to the left. And look to the right. And look to the left. And look to the right. Okay, good job. Let's do one more. Let's bring in your pleasurable activity. Whatever that place is that you love, that you're highly engaged, you're holding a baby, you're petting a dog, you're doing whatever you love. So let's keep petting ourselves. Good job. And again, I'm going to count. And you can close your eyes and be in that highly pleasurable place. Go ahead and close your eyes, and I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, and open your eyes. You can keep petting yourself. And again, look to the left and look to the right. And look to the left and look to the right. And look to the left and look to the right. And look to the left and look to the right. Nice job. Okay, shake it out. Okay, and then I want you to notice, has the stress gone down? Do you feel any less stressed? Is your number going down? You can go ahead and put it in the chat if your number's gone down a little bit. Oh yeah, okay, good. The numbers are going down. I can see. Even if you went from an 8 to a 6, that's good. Even if you went from a 6 to a 4, that's good. So yeah, the numbers seem to have gone down. Some of you may have gone all the way down. I like that. All right, great. Somewhat, just a little bit of a shift. Okay, good. All right, so what I'm going to do next is, let's imagine that in our hand, in our left hand, the left hand has peace in it. So let's imagine that our left hand is a cup. It has peace. Can I feel that? Yes, I can, because I'm weird. But you could too. So you're going to feel peace in your left hand, and then in your right hand, you're going to feel the number of stress that you haven't gotten rid of. So maybe you went down to a 3, maybe you went down to a 5. So that's in your right hand. So now I want you to mix them. I want you to take the stress that you still have going on, and I want you to mix it into that peace hand. And I want you to do like you're washing your hands, but just like this. You're just going to rub the palms of your hands together because it feels good. You're going to mix that peace with what's kind of left over. I know these activities don't really make any sense, but there's a lot of science behind them. And by just rubbing the palms of your hands like this, you're creating delta waves. You're also soothing the vagal nerve, and the vagal nerve runs from the back of your neck all the way into your tailbone. We're trying to soothe our nervous system. That's the goal. All right. The other thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to reprocess that stressful event with less heat, trying to take it down a little bit. So I don't know if that worked or not, but that was an activity to start us off. So you may say to yourself, Jenny, why am I in survival? And I will tell you that there is absolutely nothing predictable about what is happening right now. Nothing is predictable. And this lack of predictability sends us into fear. As a human animal, this lack of predictability creates fear in us. And so notice when you're shifting into a state of fear or defense. And when we're attacked or we feel afraid, we defend or we reject things. We say, no, I can't handle this reality. And so have you noticed how reactive people have become? Like, I'm watching social media and it's a little reactive right now. And I think it's because it's not predictable. Nothing is predictable right now. Our world kind of feels very chaotic. And so right now we're kind of our worst selves. And unfortunately, everyone's their worst self. So we need to have compassion for ourselves and we need to have compassion for others. In addition to that, we are dealing with a reptile brain. And so I want you to know that we have 3 parts of the brain. And those of you who are brain science people, please just disregard this piece because you will be offended. But for the rest of us, this is my layperson dialogue. So there's basically 3 parts of the brain. There's the reptile brain, which is back behind the head. It connects the head to the neck. There's the center part of the brain, which is the mammalian brain. And then there's the frontal brain, which is kind of that neocortex. We move in between these 3 brains all day long. And so I just want you to listen to where you kind of live most of the day. So the reptilian brain is the oldest brain. It's our physical survival brain. And basically, it's the brain that is seeking food, shelter, and water, also sex, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But basically, it's our adolescent brain. It's like our reactive need brain, and it's a survival brain. And when we are in this survival brain, we use fear-based words like, it's the Armageddon, it's the apocalypse, it's the end of the world, it's a violation of my freedom, I feel like I'm in solitary confinement, I feel like I'm in lockdown. In this brain, you are constantly in the lookout for danger and you are in action-reaction mode. You feel threatened all the time. And so this is where we see people painting in the street over Black Lives Matter. It's a high reaction brain, high reaction. And so notice how often in your day you're in that high reaction. Then we move into this middle brain, and that's the limbic system. That's where emotions and memories and feelings live. And we may cry a lot or get angry in this place. And we use words like sheltering in place, and it's a pandemic, and I just want to show kindness to my neighbor, and those poor firefighters. This is when we are feeling, we're in the feeling state. And we actually look for solutions to help us feel safer. Like, I wonder if I could be helping. I wonder if I could help someone. This is kind of a worry brain. How often are we in this kind of emotional worry brain in our day? And then where we really want to be, which is ideal, is the neocortex. And this is the frontal lobe. And this is the brain that says, I can take advantage of this time. I can do projects. What is the silver lining? How can I perceive with my senses? How can I create or think or use language? The one thing I want you to know about these 3 parts of the brain that we're constantly moving in and out of is there is no connection from this reptile brain to the frontal lobe. So I can't think my way out of trauma. I can't think my way through when I am in distress and in the reptile brain. And it's by design. When I am triggered by a stimulus, a snake, a stick that looks like a snake, my brain is designed, that reptilian brain is designed to get me out of danger. So there's no talking to this frontal brain. It's offline. And that's by design so that we don't talk ourselves into danger. So when we're triggered, we go straight into that reptilian brain. So I want you to think about today as you're walking through your day, as you're in meetings, are you in that reptilian brain? Are you in the mammalian brain? Where are you? And, you know, ideally we would like sometimes to be up there in that frontal lobe. The other thing that's happening is we're going through something called the cell danger response. So the human body has about 37.2 trillion cells. And when these cells go into danger mode, when they sense a threat, they disconnect from the whole. They separate out. And when they disconnect, they remove themselves. They actually like quarantine themselves. They create a container and they disconnect. And the reason why they do this is because they don't want to get the other parts of the body sick. So they kind of go off on their own and they repair. They kind of go offline and they repair. And once a cell is repaired, it then comes back into the whole. So it disconnects while it's healing, and then it comes back and it connects with that vagal nerve that we were trying to soothe in that first activity. So everything in our body is completely interconnected. When one part of us is under attack, it impacts the whole system. So can you imagine your 37.2 trillion cells feeling that they're being attacked? It's kind of like they shut down. Our system shuts down. The body's trying to keep itself safe. To optimize healing, it needs to isolate. And so our human systems work together. Think about the organs. Everything is in cooperation. Nothing is competing. And cells are cooperating to keep us safe. And when they stop cooperating, that's when we get cancer. And so this is by design that these cells go and kind of isolate out. So Jenny, what does this have anything to do with our cell danger response and our reptilian brain? How does this help me in today's world? I will tell you. So there is nothing disordered about the way that we are reacting right now to stress. There's no disorder. You are not disordered. You are not mentally ill. You do not have a mental problem. Your frontal lobe is basically offline. If you're in your reptile brain or your mammalian brain, your frontal lobe is not thinking. Also, our cells shut down to heal. And so when we are safe, when we are well, we reconnect with people. But sometimes we need to disconnect to heal. And so we cannot think or talk our way into calm. That's why talk therapy right now is probably not going to work. We can't move this fear up into the frontal brain and force a dialogue about it. It's not going to soothe us. It's not designed to do that. And then the other thing I want to say is that this is mass trauma that's happening right now. And that mass trauma triggers our own personal trauma. So instead of us saying, gosh, I just want to get past this. I just can't believe this is my 4th month in shelter in place. What we should be asking is, how do I repair? We should be like ourselves. How do I repair my personal stuff so that this mass trauma is not impacting my own personal stuff? When our anxiety is triggered, we go back to the stories and the patterns from our childhood. And so notice yourself, like there's plenty of time. Notice yourself. What do you act like when you're scared, when you're disappointed, when you're angry? I mean, I have all of these emotions all day long. I'm scared, disappointed, and angry all day long. So when you're disappointed, how do you default back to your old self? How do you go back in time and become 8, 5, 10? How do we do that? And notice when you're beating yourselves up and you're saying, I'm not good enough, I'm all alone, I'm invisible, I'm unlovable, I am responsible. We kind of become that 5-year-old self, that 8-year-old self. Our old stuff, our past is colliding with the present. And so our old wounds are the current wound. So yes, this is a terrible time and we are all in crisis. And also we're making it worse because we have unresolved issues that have not been repaired. And so I'm just going to say that some of our trauma is old that we're experiencing right now. So what can we do about it? I'm so glad you asked, because we have the rest of the talk for me just to give you stuff. All right. So I think the first thing we can do is we can seek out a telehealth trauma therapist, somebody who specializes in trauma work. And those of you who have seen me before, you know I love 2 different types of trauma work. I love EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and I also love somatic experiencing. I absolutely love those 2 modalities. So you need to find a trauma therapist, somebody who specializes in trauma, because that's what this is. This is trauma. And we need to find people who can help us heal, not just chat and talk about how our mom did this or whatever. We need to heal. Trauma is stored in the body, and so therefore we need a specialist. Talking about it, again, is not going to solve this reptilian brain. I'm petting my reptilian brain. It's not going to solve our reptilian brain getting soothed. We need to admit what I'm doing right now isn't working, and this is not who I am, and this is not how I want to act. I also will put in there as a caveat that if you feel depressed, that's a sign that you're out of alignment. Something is not right in your world. And granted, the outside world is not right, but something inside is not right. And so the goal of trauma therapy is to turn down your defenses to get to the root so that we can feel alive again, so that we can feel real again, not numb. Okay, the other thing is we need to take care of our safety. I kind of like this picture because light is like coming out of his head, which I kind of feel like some days when I read emails, like, boop. So we need to take care of our safety first. So the reptile needs to feel safe in order to go to sleep. I cannot trick it. I can't talk to it. It needs to actually feel safe. And that's why we did this activity where we were petting ourselves. I need to do the things that nurture me. I need to nurture. I can't just tell the brain like, shh, stop being anxious. I have to actually soothe myself. So here are some ways that we know work. We can always get more sleep. Sleep is necessary. It helps us heal and repair. Showering, there's a lot of people who aren't showering right now. Showering is a great tool. Get clean. Let all that stress go down the drain. Turn off all the lights, light candles, take a shower in the candlelight. That's beautiful. Let all that stuff go down the drain. Stay with a routine, even on the weekends. If you make coffee in the morning, make coffee, put on your music, maybe do some, dance. I don't know, whatever makes you happy, but have that routine every day. And then sort. I put sort in there because I think sorting is so important. Sorting is the activity of kind of working out what is going on. We are triggered all over the place all day long. And we need a best friend or a journal or a therapist or someone to sort out what is going on. I'm also going to say that panic and overreaction may be just as harmful as neglecting your basic hygiene. If you're triggered, panicking, overreacting, that might be just as dangerous for your system as if you neglected yourself. And then limit social media. It's madness right now. Give yourself like 30 minutes. You're going to check all the emails in 30 minutes, and then you're just going to get off social media. If you are just constantly scrolling, your brain is just reading terrible things. Okay, and then what? So I want you to acknowledge, I'm not happy. I'm grumpy. Be your own best parent. Be the parent that you needed. Emotions are like the weather. They will pass, but you need to acknowledge them. So be honest. Tell people, I'm sad. I am having a very hard day. Like, just say that out loud. I know that's really weird and hard for us to do because we have to be all strong and put together and our children need to see us. But no, they know. They're like dogs. They can sense that we're not well. So just say it. I'm having a really sad day. And then nurture yourself. Nourish yourself. Build up those neurotransmitters. We have our own inner pharmacy. It is free. You don't have to take any drugs. You can feel good by activating your body to create dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. And how do we do this? Well, we flip out of that reptile brain and we do creative, beautiful things. We do gardening, we sing, we do art, we play, we laugh, we move. And so if we move out of that fear-based place into a joy-based world, we are going to build up that dopamine, that oxytocin, that serotonin. We are going to build that up. And it could be so simple, like you're making chocolate chip scones. Like I did the other day, I made chocolate chip scones and my whole house smelled delicious. And I was like, this is literally the happiest thing that I could be doing today. And I was building up all that good inner pharmacy of like joy, and everything smelled good in my house. All right, one more last statement. If I can't calm down, then I'm not going to function. And that's just the bottom line. If I cannot soothe myself, if I cannot nurture myself, then I'm not going to be functioning very well. And so we need to do some things to snap us out if we are flooding. And so notice if you're doing something like flooding or freaking out, notice when you're doing that and stop it. Just put a stop. Boop, there's no health benefit to flooding. And so I'm going to give you the top 3 really easy things to just stop the flood. Stop. And those of you who have worked with me before, you know these are my favorite ones, but they work. So first of all, sleep. Taking a nap will absolutely reset your nervous system. It's fast, it's easy, go take a nap. That is a quick way to just reset your nervous system. The next way is to float in a pool. A lot of us don't have access to a pool, so that gets a little tricky. I guess you could run a bath and put some salt in there and float a little bit, but floating in a pool is a very quick way to reset your nervous system so that you are not in fight, flight, freeze. And then if all else fails, do the scuba mask in ice water. So this activity is pretty easy, and I promise you it works. You take a big bowl that's the size of your head, and you fill it with cold water and ice, and then you dunk your head in the bowl of ice water, and you dunk your head around the area where you would have a scuba mask on, so around all of your eyes. And so what I would do is I would stick my head in the bowl and hold it there for a couple seconds, however long you can kind of hold your breath underwater. I don't know how many seconds that is. And then you come out. And then you put your head in the bowl of cold water and you hold your breath and then you come out. And I would do that about 4 or 5 times, making sure that you get this area of your eyeballs, you get that cold with the wet water. Again, that is resetting your nervous system. I know some of these things that I'm giving you today just seem so weird, but there is science to back it. I'm not just doing weird, silly things. So at the very worst, it's going to wake you up. So again, if you can't get out of that reptile brain, you're not going to function very well. All right, the next thing that I would challenge you to ask yourself is, what does pleasure look like for me now? And it's going to look a lot different than it did before. I love this little door in the middle of the forest. It makes me feel like there's like a little fairy house that lives there. And it's like deep within your soul, there's this door and it opens a world of wonder, and open the door and let the magic in. I love this so much. I want to find that door. So anyway, what I would say is look for the pleasure that you are going to find now, because restaurants, time with our friends, being in the theater, going shopping, we don't have that external thing to bring in pleasure anymore. So find something, take a cooking class online, learn salsa, do a dreaming class, do painting, music, making pizza dough, beading, do something totally weird like flamenco hands. You know, pick something that's just outrageous and flips your brain and brings you great pleasure so that you look forward to doing that every day. And again, this doesn't have to be long. You don't have to take your whole afternoon. It's just maybe 15, 20 minutes. All right. The next thing is to reach out for support and to support others. So we know that going it alone doesn't work. It didn't work before, so it certainly doesn't work now. We need others just as much as they need us. So we can't do life by ourselves. We've never been able to do life by ourselves. And so remember those little baby cells, right, that were in danger and they went away and they healed themselves and then they came back together? Well, that's what we need to do. We have been in social isolation. It is dangerous for our brains. We need to come back together. And if that means a Zoom call or calling somebody over your breakfast or having a chat over lunch or doing a happy hour, we need to come back together. And remember that this middle brain, that mammalian brain, that is more functional than your reptile brain. So having memories and reliving old fun times and laughing and crying and being with your friends, that is just as important to your mental health as anything else, and we cannot forget it. We need to reconnect with each other. Okay, and then next step, we need to engage in the 5 senses. So the 5 senses, again, will take us out of that panic state. They shift our nervous system, and so we need to engage things that, you know, are tactile and smell and taste and sight and things that kind of get our senses awake. Social connection is a great way because, again, we're flooding with memories and happiness and laughter. Laughing, I just have to say, one of my friends on Facebook every day posts like 7 or 8 hilarious things. And you may say, how does laughing in today's crisis help with anything? Well, it completely does. And science can back it. That we know that laughter helps raise that inner pharmacy, those great endorphins that we need. So laugh, go find funny movies, go laugh at things that make you joyful. Find the laughter every day. It's completely worth it, and it's good for your mental health. Humming and singing. I know that sounds ridiculous, but humming and singing actually raises the vibration of your body. It shifts you out of your fight, flight, freeze place, because what scared animals walking around the jungle singing? So humming or singing, put on your favorite music and dance around the living room while you're unloading the dishwasher. All of that is great for you, great for your mental health. Deep breathing. Some of you have a favorite deep breathing activity that you love. If you don't, send me an email. I'll send you 10,000 activities about deep breathing. There's a lot of apps out there that help with deep breathing. I would say the most important part about deep breathing is you want the exhale to be longer than the inhale. Gargling. This is a really weird thing. Gargling, Jenny, that's weird. Take some water and gargle it and make some noise, because it's funner to gargle with noise. So gargle with some water. I know it sounds really weird, but again, it wakes up your vagal nerve, shifts your nervous system, it engages your senses. It's kind of an awakening moment. Take your tongue to the roof of your mouth and move it around like a paintbrush. Let's do it. So take your tongue and just paint your roof of your mouth with your tongue. So weird, but again, you're engaging the vagal nerve, you're doing self-calming, you're getting yourself out of your brain space a little bit and doing something that engages the 5 senses. Writing gratitude lists. I do a gratitude list every night, and I write things like, I am so thankful for my ice cream that is in my freezer. Like, that is my gratitude list. It does not have to be spiritual and magical. It can literally be, I am so glad I have air conditioning right now. Like, gratitude lists don't have to be complicated. Exercise for 5 minutes. You don't have to exercise for 30. You don't have to exercise for an hour. Exercise for 5. Jump around the house to some fun music. There are so many YouTube videos out there that are magically awesome. So get a little bit of exercise in, shake things up, move your body. Trauma is stored in the body, so we need to get that body moving. Get into bright sunlight for a few minutes. Those of us who live in Arizona, we don't want to be in the bright sunlight for any minutes. So go out when it's very, very cold. Like, go out when it's like 5:30 in the morning and it's only 90. Go out then and get in some of that bright sunlight. That vitamin D is super good for your system and for your antibodies and all of that good stuff. And then this is a fun one. You want to stimulate the frontal lobe. And remember how I told you there's no way to think or talk your way from that reptile brain to that frontal lobe? So how you stimulate that frontal lobe is you can use smell. The olfactory sense of smell is so powerful. It just like, boom, it just takes us out. And so citrus, cheap. You don't have to go buy fancy essential oils or do anything magic like that. Go get an orange. Go get some lime. Go take some citrus in, stick it underneath your left nostril and breathe it in, and that will relax you. I actually, when I'm doing trauma work with my patients, I actually use citrus all the time. That's my #1 thing that I give them after they've done intense trauma work. So if you're highly stimulated, grab some citrus and smell in your left nostril and wake your brain up. That'll stimulate your frontal lobe. You start thinking again. Isn't this fun? Okay, I love it. All right, yoga, always good. Tai Chi, love that. Qigong, any of that like slow movement that kind of helps us move our body in a safe, slow way, love it. Showering, I think, is a great thing. Dancing is a great thing. Some of these are being really repetitive. Sorry about that. Okay. And so here's kind of the summary slide, because I've kind of thrown millions of things at you. I guess I would just say, notice if you're shutting down or if you're overstimulated. Some of us are reacting to these trauma times differently. Some of us are shutting down and we're wearing our pajamas and watching Netflix for hours and hours. And some of us are highly overstimulated. We're up all night It's 3 o'clock in the morning and we're still walking around the house. So notice if you have a shutdown response or if you're having an overstimulation response. Either one of them is normal right now, but I would say that they have a different, like a different response that we should do with them. So if you're noticing that you're shutting down, you're gonna have to force pleasure. You're not gonna want to. You're gonna wanna be in your pajamas watching Netflix. And so you have to force yourself to get up and do something that is pleasurable. And you're gonna have to find out what that is. I don't know. I've been taking a lot of online classes. I've been doing a lot of really weird reading. So find something that brings you great joy and force yourself into that, because you want to activate those neurotransmitters. You want to turn on that dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. You want to put yourself in a situation that has you laughing or smiling or enjoying the moment. It doesn't have to be long, but you kind of need to force yourself into that place of pleasure and find things that excite you. Maybe it's online dating. I don't know. You'll write a blog on what online dating looks like during the COVID. You'll be like the master of your domain. I don't know. But you might find something that kind of excites you, right? And flirting online, that's exciting. I don't know. I'm thinking about my students, so I'm rattling off some of the things they do. And then some of us might be overstimulated, meaning I'm ramped up, I'm wired, I'm up all night. In that case, if you're one of those people who are kind of wild, limit your screen time. Like, we just know that that blue screen is not good for you. Social media, probably not good for you. So make sure you kind of limit that time. Maybe you go for a walk in nature. I've been going out of my house at 10 o'clock at night because in Arizona it's super hot, so I have to wait until it's dark. But I go on a walk with my blue headlamp and I look for scorpions. So that is a way for me to kind of calm down, right? I'm walking around, I'm smelling the desert, I'm putting my little headlamp on looking for scorpions. So go on a walk, be part of nature, soothe yourself. Water is a great tool. Again, if you're overstimulated, we kind of need to nurture. All right, I think there's only a couple more slides. All right, yes, this is the last one. All right, so what I would say is that my last talk, I talked a lot about spirituality and the idea of returning home. And I still think it's very important. I feel like this quote is all that it says. Ego says, once everything falls into place, I'm going to feel peace. But I don't know that we're going to feel peace right now. I just don't know that that's possible. And then this says, but spirit says, find peace and then everything else will fall into place. And we're going to come back to that at the very last slide. I have a quote, but I guess what I would say is that spirituality is sort of our return home, and we need to discover the sacred. And the sacred is way more interesting than our reptilian impulses, like way more interesting than me reacting all over the place. And so if you're wondering, how do I get back to the sacred? How do I get back home? How do I get back to spirituality? You do it by getting quiet. You do it by getting out of this reptilian brain. And actually being sacred and being spiritual is our birthright. You don't have to do anything. You just have to get quiet and spirit arises. That is your natural state. Joy is your natural state. Maybe you could go find your purpose. Maybe this is your moment to find your true north, your true self. What do I really want to do with my life when I get out of here? I think you should take up more physical space when you feel small. So when you feel cramped inside and you've been inside all day long and you feel little, be big. Do something that stretches your body. Be as big as you can possibly be. Be a big star. Do something big that expands your body. Make a list of all of your accomplishments and activities, because your contributions are very important. We've kind of forgotten, like, what am I even doing right now? I'm making mac and cheese. What am I doing? So maybe we need to remind ourselves of how powerful and important we are and the message that we have to give to the world. So make a list of all of the great things that we've done and remind ourselves of that. Mentor yourself. Be your own best, wisest self. Mentor yourself. Write yourself a letter. Dear Jenny, you're doing great today. I always start every morning with, I love you. I love you, Jenny. So start every morning by mentoring yourself. Be that parent, be that older, wiser self that gives you wisdom. You're in there. Your older, wiser self is in there. You just got to remember that part of you. And then write down your plans for the future. And I know that sounds weird because we don't see a future. There is no light at the end of the tunnel, but we will get out of this. And so make plans, design a wedding, plan a trip, write the next great American novel. You write that Moby Dick. We're at home. You can do it. So, you know, kind of go a little bit deeper if you are wanting to flip out of that old reptilian reaction brain into more of a frontal lobe processing. Okay. And last but not least, be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others, even when they're being difficult. And I know that this does not mean ignoring injustice. Maybe it means that we give people who are being difficult some distance to heal. We let them be those little cells who kind of go off and heal. But we can be nice by giving boundaries. Maybe that's what we need to do. And then I love this quote so much. I think it really summarizes the whole talk. As long as our peace is dependent on any kind of external reality, it is not peace. Because peace comes from here, comes from us, comes from our heart. And we are peace. We don't need something outside to say be peaceful. We are peace. So on that, I will stop sharing the screen. And hopefully we have some questions maybe that are burning a hole in your pocket before we go back to our lives.